what are we doing today?
Christmas time! Ring-a-ding-a-ding time!
You didn't tell me it was going to be Christmas time. Just a second. So, now I feel better dressed.
Yeah, I mean...
you do realize it's July, right?
Well, but you wanted to watch a shop around the corner.
Yeah, I had no idea this was a Christmas movie.
It's a Christmas movie!
I had no idea. But I think if they just put in a Christmas tree and it happens to be at Christmas time, because for a shop, that is the precious
time. The whole second half of the movie is about the display, is the Christmas display, and then they have the Christmas sale, and then they have they hand out the Christmas bonuses.
Yeah, but the thing about shops, and especially in a country that doesn't have other holidays, is that this is the holiday of the year. This is the time of the year, the only time of the year. So it cannot be anything other than a Christmas movie.
And it is actually still true that something like 3/4 of all the business that retail does is in running up to Christmas. It's December.
It's high season.
And for them, it was the Christmas Eve sale was the thing.
Yeah.
Because everybody wants to buy that pigskin leather wallet for their husbands, fathers, and etc.
Interesting thing about it, when I looked it up on the Wikipedia, is that this is from a play. But in the play, it was a perfumery. And they changed it to to a shop,
leather
goods shop. Mm-hmm. And I think the reason for it may have been completely practical. Like they phoned up the scenery department and said, "Can you guys, what can you do? Can you do us
a lot more interesting to look at, because you have these large suitcases, you have the smaller bags that they can show the women come in for the bags, the men come in for the suitcases, and you have the cigar box that
plays the silly tune
with the fake leather, so they can talk about how, the good and the bad of leather. Yes.
Yeah. What I didn't like about this movie, but I think they understand it, and that's why they did something, is they are not really very American. But that's fine.
No,
because
it's Hungary.
It's Hungary, but the thing is, why get James Stewart to be in a film about Hungarians?
I just loved that. Once I realized that they were going for it straight out, they were like everything. Yes. All the signs are in Hungarian. They have the penga, which is an early Hungarian
coin.
No, it's paper. Money. And paper money. And I was like, but they're serious about this stuff.
Yeah, but it's because
all the way through,
the director is Ernst Lubitsch. That's the same guy who did Das Weib, the Pharao, the black and white movie.
Yeah.
I did a review about it.
Yes,
and this guy, I think, because he was German, or from a region that is now Germany, but wasn't when he was born. But sure. He's from that part of the world, so Hungary is not that far off from him. And he realized that the way the play is written, you cannot transpose that to American. You'd have to completely rewrite it for Americans, because these are not Americans.
It could be done, but
it could be done, but it's going to be completely different. And the people who did it is the people who did Sleepless in Seattle. I think it's Sleepless in Seattle. That's the same story of the correspondence.
The correspondence plot.
The correspondence plot.
Nowadays that's called the three-sided love, the two-sided love triangle. Mm. And I love it. It's awesome. I think really with Sleepless in Seattle, they didn't, because they don't meet each other. So to me, it is more like pillow talk. But pillow talk where he comes in and he realizes it. And then he starts to be talk bad stuff about her love interest and all of that.
Yeah.
So I mean it's in Pillow Talk they switched it around because she actually likes him as the Texan guy. Whereas in this one she doesn't like him because she also knows him already as the guy from the shop.
Yeah.
it's just that whole thing. What is brilliant about the setup is that you can do all sorts of dynamics between two people. And you can have them shout at each other without having had to have been in a relationship where they fell apart. Because later we get, of course, all the divorcees, and then they get back together again because of all of that. Because of Hays Code, you couldn't live together, so you had to first get married, then divorce, then marry again. We get loads of those.
You either get a pre-marriage story, or you get a we have parted, but we're going back to end up back together, because you can't do for a third person because of Hays Code. Yes.
Yes, and you couldn't already have been together for realsies because of the Hays Code either.
But you want to see, you want to showcase that sort of...
you want the dynamics, so you want the off and on and off and on. And this actually provides all of that.
Yeah. And
it's really brilliant.
I think that for the Jimmy Stewart role and for Mr. Matuschek, who's played by the same guy who plays the Wizard of Oz, the wizard. It was really good, well played. He plays, and that was the plot where I said, okay, you cannot do this in America. Because basically this is a nice upstanding gentleman. He's a bit bossy, but he's a boss, so that's fine. But he does everything for his wife. He gives her a lot of money, and she takes a lot of money. And then it turns out she is cheating on him, and he falls apart. And it's a very sad story.
He does.
And it's very un-American. It's very un-American.
Yeah, the amount of how much he fell apart was quite shocking. And it was beautifully filmed.
Beautifully filmed, yes.
Because they have Pepi going in, and you hear the shot, and he runs out with the gun. And I was like, oh, he was that upset.
Yes,
you
didn't realize, but that is how people actually commit suicide. Other people are not aware. Yeah. Other people are not aware on how far this person's life is falling apart and how despondent they get, and they commit suicide like that. And thank God that Pepi walked in.
Yes.
And maybe even just pulled up a rifle because the guy was in the hospital and not dead.
I thought for sure that Pepi was going to find him on the floor.
Yeah.
And fortunately not. And then they actually assume that he's got a nervous breakdown, which is in 1940. 40, yeah.
1940, that you call that a nervous breakdown.
And the work up to that, because the first half of the movie, we see all the phone calls happening with Matuschek and his wife. And the dynamics with the employees, especially him and the men that work for him. And he just assumes that it is Kralik, Jimmy Stewart. He assumes because he's the only guy who's been to their house.
Yep.
And what else can he assume? But he doesn't speak it. He doesn't say anything. So he just gets more and more introverted. Yeah, and also... He doesn't actually get nasty to Kralik, but he
fires him. That's nasty enough.
He's trying to find a way. I cannot be with this person in the room anymore. Instead of shouting at him, he's like, "Okay, I need to fire you," and he gives him an absolutely glowing.
But he does reference. He fires him just before Christmas, so that's not very nice.
Yeah, and nobody understands why, and the complete, why is this happening? Is happening through the whole, all of the employees. Yeah. But Kralik is he's also very calm. A lot of these people are super calm, actually, when you think about it, what's happening.
Yes.
And he's like, no. And he's a leader in his position. He was going to be manager anyway. You know, that was where he was headed. He was clearly going to take over the company. So I'm thinking, in my headcanon, Matuschek and wife don't have sons. If they have any children, it's going to be daughters, and they're apparently not marrying anybody that they want to take over the business.
They're probably marrying people that have their own thing going, so maybe not. Yeah. And this is the plot I really liked the best, is the Matuschek, Mr. Matuschek plot. It's very sad, but it's really good. Jimmy Stewart, I liked him. I hated her. And I think
MargaretSullavan as Klara.
the actress is wonderful. The
She's very
actress
good. Yes.
actress tried, but there's a moment where she had a fainting spell and she's in the bed, and then a James Stewart character comes to talk to her, and she is trying to do her lines, but they are so shitty that she cannot do them.
I totally agree with you that was very... And James Stewart is sitting there and he is really holding the space for her. He is like, I'm with you. I'm going to get you through this scene, because I was going, yes, at least,
but and I think the problem is just another case of men writing women, because the woman's part is the story is that she has this correspondence with this person she doesn't know, and she's low-key falling in love with this person, and she's working together with a guy that she sort of low-key hates because he's bossy. He's her immediate boss, the Kralik, James Stewart character, and she doesn't know, and he doesn't know at first, that he's also corresponding with a nice young lady. And
also thinking of marrying her.
And it turns out she is the young lady. And then when... and the way she doubles down on... Because he figures it out. She doesn't still know that. So by the time... That scene where she flops her lines...
It's revealed because he goes to do the meeting.
He knows, but she doesn't.
Yeah.
And then
he doesn't reveal it to her because he's very, very pissed off at that moment, because she got him fired. Not entirely directly, but almost entirely directly.
And so she's in the bed and trying to do those lines, and she's doubling down on those beauty of those letters, and I was going, writer, you need to die right now, because I am dying right now. The way he's airheading her.
Yes. And whereas we know that she isn't, because he's praising her about the letters and that they're talking about philosophy. They're talking about, what was the other thing? Politics? No, not politics. Philosophy and something else.
Books, I think.
Yes, literature and philosophy, and not just a little bit of literature, like serious literature. So she's not an airhead at all. She is, and when we see her talking to him, when she's in her oomphy power, she's like boom, boom, boom. Yeah. You know, the banter is fantastically good.
Yeah.
But then she has to turn around and be this wilting waif, and she keeps saying psychologically. This is where I thought the whole thing was translated from the German, because she mentions the word psychology. I am psychologically feeling now this. There's 3 times she says that.
Yeah,
and
it's the Hungarian.
Like,
yes, yeah.
Really? Yes, she would say that in German, possibly Hungarian. I don't know Hungarian, but you would, and it would come across as kind of cute, you know. Psychologically, I am now in this state. That's
psychologisch.
Psychologisch. That would be cute, because you'd go, oh, she's trying to, she's learned some words, and she kind of understands what psychologically means, but not really, because it's not used properly. But in English, it doesn't work, and that's why translations are super hard. And I would say also the fact that she is a wilting violet. She doesn't come into the store to start with as a wilting violet. She has been rejected at several places.
And she
has
going,
just been ejected from a place, and we don't know why. And she prefers not to say. That is not a wilting violet. She just keeps on going until she gets to talk to Matuschek, who's the boss. And then she does talk the boss into actually hiring her. So for her to fall apart, not because of physical condition, she's skinny, so she could just literally be suffering from not enough food or whatever. But no, she's saying all excuses for her feeling like the world is spinning around her and she's falling ill is purely psychological. No, I don't. That doesn't add up.
Yeah, and then just being fixated on the letters only, and
that's very odd, and that may be a leftover from bad writing.
Bad writing.
But if we stay within the universe, it could also be a leftover from like an earlier age, because I got the sense that this was not 1940.
It's not. I got
the sense that more like Deep Depression, 1932 or something like that. I mean, it's not much earlier, but
it's not that much.
Certainly.
I think it's more like 1935 or something like. The play is from that. So it's Depression.
Great Depression. It was they refer to it as well as this is a bad time to be out of work, and everybody understands that having the job is so important. And she has the skills. I also didn't like the piece where they were in the stockroom. Half of it I liked. She said I was in the stockroom, and he asks her in the stockroom, and they just do inventory and stuff, and they switch around the inventory. And then she actually says to him, at this job, I like this job, because at this job, you ask me in, and to do inventory. We actually doing inventory. That is Hayes code for... In the previous place.
The reason she left is because somebody got handsy with her. Yes.
And that is very likely. That happens. That happened then. It happened at all ages, all eras. So it's good that it's in there. They managed to get it past the Hayes code. Okay, so we have Vadas and we have Pepi.
Yeah, the Vadas character, the gigolo character, who turns out to be the one who is humping the missus.
Yeah, and so
I don't understand that at all.
No, that is a situation that is not explained well enough. But I'm in universe. I'm going. All the phone calls that Mrs. Matuschek was doing was to get money to give to him, because she gave him nice clothing. She gave him she gave him this ring, which is insane. And then she clearly also gave him money because he arrived by taxi, just like the boss does.
Yeah, which is weird. And that should have been a red flag for the people there, that if you have like a wage person who spends more than he could possibly make,
now
then that's
we would immediately say,
hey, what's going on?
This is clearly not right. Why is he even working at that store? Yeah. And he wants that job. He wants to keep the job. The moment that Kralik is there to silently but firmly
throw him out,
fire him, is almost to the point of he's begging for his job. So that's not it. He was willing to do the worst jobs.
Well, here's my advice: if you want to keep your job,
don't bang the missus.
Don't bang the boss's missus. Yes, or the boss's mister.
And again, back to Mr. Matuschek, because he is actually, it's basically Kralik and Matuschek make this story. They are so lovely. They are such wonderful people to watch, and how they react to things, and they're so down to earth. And it's like, okay, we'll take it slow. The only time that Kralik actually gets his hairs stand on end is with her. In the shop when she's trying to bullshit him, and of course with Vadas when he is really trying to bullshit the place, and they literally all of them throw him out. I love that scene, fantastic. Everybody throws him out, and they gave him a reference. It's like the worst reference ever.
The one thing I didn't like was Pepi, when it comes out that Matuschek's wife is screwing around with somebody, and nobody knew at the time. Then Pepi picks up the phone and answers the phone and says it straight out where everybody's there. And that was not okay. Yeah. I'm sorry, that was not okay.
I'm not sure, because I think he then looks at the people around him and says, make of that what you will. But he and
It was
Kralik,
clear. It was clear.
Yes, he and Kralik with the throwing off of Vadas, it's almost impossible to keep.
Yeah, but it was after. That was much later. That's like a couple of days later, or maybe a day later. It was too early. He shouldn't have said it at that time. That was.
Yeah. And you could tell.
But he's young. He's very young.
Yes, shit rolls downhill. Because when he gets the new boy in, he's like, he's worse probably than they ever treated him.
Yeah, but he needs to kick in the rubber parts.
Yeah.
He needs to kick in the butt.
We can tell from the beginning of the film, he had outgrown that go-for boy status. He must be now, let's call it 18. He's done that for a couple of years.
If he's going to cavalier with other people's private information like that, he's going to get burnt at some point. Because he's too cavalier.
He still needs education. He still needs to be set on with a big thumbprint
And if you
by
work,
the higher-ups.
If you work in retail, it's going to happen that you get private information that you shouldn't be sharing around. Like somebody buying a leather wallet for somebody's birthday in advance, then you don't tell to that other person that somebody bought them another wallet, because that's how you need to have some smarts of when to speak and when not to speak, and he doesn't have it yet. I think this is a boys' movie, basically. Even though it appears to be a girls' movie, it's a boys' movie.
Oh, but
it's about the guys.
I really enjoyed it.
Yeah, it's good. I mean, James Stewart and FrankMorgan
as
FrankMorgan.
Matuschek.
He is. I mean, the only thing I ever saw him in was Wizard of Oz, and he has like 2 good scenes in there, and he has loads of good scenes in here, and he's a really good actor.
Yeah. In another way, you can tell that it is a boys' written, at least produced movie, is that the rest of the women have no part.
Yeah.
You have an Ilona and you have a Flora. But other than picking up the phone and saying thank you when they're handed a bonus, no, nothing. No. Zero. But that's how all these movies were.
It's sometimes they can transcend something, but it's difficult.
There's absolutely no reason
but
why.
The play is also by a man.
Why Flora wouldn't have been in the position of Pirovitch. Pirovitch was the guy who gave Kralik, names. Woo, we're doing our best. Gave Kralik all the good advice, and also her. When we're talking about the wallet, there's a moment where he says, and that could have been Flora.
It could have been a girl, yes.
And so nowadays you would do that. There would also be more diversity, because there is no call for diversity in this film.
It is set in Hungary.
It's literally a shop around the corner.
But it is in Hungary, and they do
Budapest.
In Budapest, they make a point of that, so you get the demographic of Budapest. So that it is fine that
everybody
is
white. And they specifically state this is a middle class store. Maybe when it was still a perfumery, you wouldn't have had to have that line, because possibly only middle class people would come in. But actually, they're middle class. The people that are coming into the store are actually quite well to do. We might call that upper middle class now.
The difference between a shop that sells perfume and one that sells leather goods is that leather goods you buy like once in a while, whereas a perfume you buy more often. So you'd have slightly different clientele in that sense.
And you would have a lot more men. You would have 50-50 men, women for the leather goods, but for the perfumes, well, you would have men buying it for women. Okay, but mostly it would be a woman's store.
I do remember that pretty much universally all the customers that come in, I think they were all women. They were buying stuff for husbands and stuff like that.
Yeah, that's true. Yeah,
because
there were no male customers.
There were no male customers.
Because one woman comes in and she says, "I'll send my husband tomorrow."
Yeah, and she's counted because she said basically she's going to say to their husband, that one in the window, third from the left, that's the one you want.
Yeah. But it was for a briefcase for him with a zipper, and he said, "No, we have loads of briefcases."
But she did all the scouting. She spent all the day to do the scouting, and then sends him because he doesn't have any time because he has a job.
Yeah, I mean, nowadays you would say, just take a couple of photos, show me, and I'll pick that one.
Exactly.
It is not how things were done then, but he can only come on a Saturday.
Same version of that, but not on
Actually, maybe not even a Saturday, because in 1940 people were still working on Saturdays.
I think the shop is probably open long enough that people after work can come, but only like maybe in an hour after work.
Yeah. Another thing basically this film is saying is this is their whole world.
Yeah.
And there's nothing outside this world. There's nowhere to go. Even the youngest boy, Rudy, he says, my parents are not in this town. He came to this town possibly to be errand boy. Or possibly to go to a school.
You go to town because there's opportunities in town. If you come from the countryside and you're like the fourth, the fifth, or the sixth child, then you go to town because there's no opportunities.
At 16, and then you need to be able to slot into a company like this, which is lovely because it is effectively a replacement family. And Matuschek says that. During the Christmas speech, he says that it's a tiny speech, but that moment he says, actually, you guys have been my family for the last 20 years.
Yeah, and I think
even though he was hoping that his wife was his family, but that unfortunately blew up.
Yeah. And I think because that sort of phrasing is bandied about a lot in modern times for, well, we're a big family and you just
family.
And put out for companies that family, so that we underpay you because you're family. And I think here he actually means it. He's not lying. He's not putting on act. He's not doing anything like that. He actually meant it.
That's why I like all of them, even Pepi, because they are heartfelt. They are there for the long haul. They mean it. Pepi is there to become a shop salesman, and then
junior clerk, junior salesman, and middle salesman, and
Kralik is there to become manager.
Yes,
and then to marry the girl. Klara, it really doesn't matter which girl for this particular part of his life. But he married a girl, and then like Pirovitch, have the 1.2 kids at some point, and
in a house, and
house.
Hope that you make enough money that you have a house that is nice enough to have that 1.5 kids.
And that's why I wanted to talk briefly about Pirovitch, because he represents a part of the population that is male, but he is in a position of not being able to call the shots, because everything that comes at him, he says, I'm sorry, I have a family to support. And that's where Kralik is going, except Kralik is going to be manager. So he's going to be better off. But it was still, they had that conversation early on in the movie, is, can you tell me what's needed? What kind of money should I make for having for a wife? And they're going, you're kidding yourself if you think it's just going to be a wife, because the moment she's a wife, a year later it's a wife and a kid. Yeah. And then that goes on and on and on and multiplies. And so they actually have all these conversations.
Yeah, and that's fun.
And yeah, I love it. It's just the whole thing is so homey and cute, and definitely a Christmas movie. So I would sit down for this and just go like that. And especially the end with all the snow coming down. It was a good special effect, by the way. The snow was proper convincing. I have no idea what they made it of, but it was convincing snow.
They have a good fake snow by this time.
Yeah. So yeah, I love it. My recommendation for a Christmas movie.
Apart from the ladies, I loved it.
Yeah, I agree with you. The writing for Klara was not good. The banter was great.
And it's not the actress. The actress is fine.
No. What are you going to do with... Oh, my God. But possibly the director, although I thought actually the framing was always good. Every time if you wanted to freeze frame, it's a good picture. Yeah. It's prettily done. I was very surprised at how opulent their Christmas display was going to be. Yeah,
but that's Hollywood interpretation of this. You know, you have to remember that these are the Hollywood version of all these people. Yeah. The handsome Jimmy Stewart, of course. The Kralik is just your average Joe, and he happens to be very handsome. Jimmy Stewart, average Joe. Yes.
And they make a couple of remarks that he's not so handsome, and he just looks like,
oh God, he's handsome.
Really, you think so?
But that's shorthand for it's supposed to be normal. So a normal Christmas display, but made nice to look nice on the film.
Yeah. I loved it. It was very because it's a play, of course. It's these things come across on film so well because it's just.
Because it's tried tried and true. Even though it was translation, and I do, that's what I felt when I saw it, is that Dutch people have in our time have watched a lot of things that were translated from something else to Dutch. Some of them badly, and some of them okay. And sometimes you feel there's this little thing that I cannot put a name to. That you see, okay,
what's wrong here? What doesn't work?
There is a slight niggly, and I don't know what it is, and it's translation. It's because they had to make a translation and
of something that doesn't translate.
Yeah, and they already offset it a little bit by leaving it in Hungary, but
I
still,
loved that. I just so adore that.
but still,
Yes.
you can feel it sometimes that it and I recognize that it's because of the translation. So if you sort of go, that's weird, it's the translation. It's just the fact that English speaking culture and the original culture just do not jive.
No.
And can it be made to jive? It's just never going to happen. You either have to completely rearrange the story.
It's up to, when you handed a script like that, it is up to the actors.
German director.
Yeah, the German director to actually, be bilingual enough to understand what needs fixing. But then it's up to the actors to just get the lines out and make it fluent.
Flow, yeah.
Make it flow, make it natural. And James Stewart does that so well because he has this really calm way of acting. This really, I'm just saying it, just that it's there, and then he's like, okay, give it back to me. He's also with Pirovitch. The scenes with him I really liked because he's asking advice of this not that much older man, maybe 10 years older at the very most, but more like 5. But he's asking for guidance, and also with Matuschek, both of them actually, Matuschek and Kralik. They were actually, until Matuschek started doubting it, they were very, very natural with each other. Yeah. And afterwards, again, when he says, "Oh, my brain was just so riddled with jealousy that I couldn't see straight." Yeah. And he was also heading for a nervous breakdown anyway. Yeah. From running a company for 20 years. He was overworking, and you can see that in the very first scene where he already met with Kralik. He's having a disagreement about what stuff to buy, and he doesn't, for some reason, doesn't trust his main salesperson who's been there for 20 years. Well, yeah, because Pirovitch, every time he says, "I want your honest opinion," Pirovitch runs upstairs. She's gone. So he knows not to give it. He needs to talk to Kralik, and then he says, "Yeah, but you always disagree with me." But Kralik is always right. Yes. And he knows that. He just doesn't like it. And that, so I think he was already heading for a nervous breakdown, and the wife, the whole thing with the wife, which was completely unnecessary in a cosmic kind of way. It pushed him over the edge. Yeah. And I still don't understand why she did it, because if you don't love him anymore, just divorce him and move on. Yeah. Don't cheat. It's not necessary. Yeah. This was unnecessary. She was using him as a milk cow. Yeah. And he was saying yes to everything. She was just, she was one of those wives that you just wouldn't wish on anybody. And you don't get to see her at all anyway. No, off-screen character. So you can completely bash an off-screen character, but it's not okay. Yeah, but it does line up with those. We have 3 on-screen women, of which only one once in a while interacts with Klara, and the two women are just non-entities, whereas all the men have lines, loads of lines, and space. It's a men's thing. Yeah, it's a men's. Yeah. So the last scene where Kralik goes through the whole thing of first making her believe that the love interest, her correspondence love interest is an absolute zero potato. Yeah, couch potato, wanting her to bring in the money. It was almost unnecessary. And it was like, it was kind of unnecessarily cruel, yes. Yes, but she had also been quite cruel to him. So I was like, is this basically their relationship now? They just like going like this and then fall into bed together. No, she was. Yes, she was. No, she was not cruel to him. She was nasty to him. Yeah. But the cruelty came from the fact that he knew that she was the one doing. But that's his own problem, because basically he's eavesdropping on somebody else's conversation at this point. Yeah. And when you eavesdrop, you get to hear stuff you don't want to hear. So, devil's advocate, I will say that the reason that he was in a bad mood for that was because he had just gotten fired. But that's just devil's advocate. I basically think they could have been much nicer to each other and still have a good movie. Yeah. I mean, but I think the mistake is in her writing, because she doesn't, as a character, simply doesn't work. Yeah. Yeah.
That's just bad writing, and I don't think you can even fix that in this.
You could rewrite it.
Yeah, but you have to completely rewrite it.
You rewrite it, and it can be set anywhere.
Yeah.
It just has to be
But then,
believable.
Then
that
you can
there
call
is
it something else, and
Yeah.
but you don't get to be James Stewart again, you know.
Yeah. You can call it pillow talk.
You call it pillow talk.
And then she has oomph.
Yes.
So there you go.
Yeah, I think worth seeing.
Yes, definitely put on your Christmas list.
And that's my opinion.
And my opinion.
And we're sticking to it.